I can't help it. Is there something autobiographical in the story?
The mother story is a little autobiographical. A lot of the other stuff, as we discussed earlier, is not. I always take there is always a personal experience that touches off a story. But I think for literature to be literature, it cannot just be pouring out your feelings or just being a memoir. And memoirs have this, it's a valid form of literature. But to be literature, you have to use your imagination and you have to go beyond just the personal experience. So I sometimes do both. But I try very hard, and especially in my poetry, the imagination is my guide more than anything else. And that's what I always do with the children too. We had earlier a question. I always let them bring in often the topic. And our oldest daughter, Caitlin, who was here and left, had to go back to Dallas. I remember her son, who is now 16, when he was little, he would always kind of egg me on. Okay, Omi, tell us a story about a leaf, okay, about a cat, about Daddy, and I would just make up a story. And then he tried to really get to me, and he said, Omi, tell us a story about snot. Well, and that gave me, again, a little biology lesson, and I made the nose as into a house, and you know, you can, so that's what the imagination is about. You take what is given, and you run with it. And you can turn it this way, or you can turn it that way. And I told the group before, what I try to do is always offset a character that I have created by the opposite. So like a mother who is embedded in a family is offset by a mother who has no children. The one book, a man is totally, you know, outside. He has a life adrift from society, and then others are connected. I'm not a writer who is totally despairing about life. So I try to find always something good in a situation and something redeemable in a character. So it's not, but it's, but I still try to go from one experience to another. Yeah.
It just seems that you go so deep into the personal, and then your imagination takes you into the universe. And that's a very Jungian thing, and I wondered if you had studied Jungian psychology.
I did a lot, but and you won't like that, but I'm more of a Freudian.
Oh, okay.
And then the post-Freudian, you know, that came up along the women writers there. Yes, I do, and that's why my being a clinical hypnotist plays into that, to use the unconscious as a guide.
It's very body-centered, though.
And yeah, we live in our bodies. And it's also a celebration of the body and, like with the dying, and its limits. So it's both the body in its beauty and in the birth and young age, but then also in later life, you know, the decline of the body and dying.
I apologize if you've been asked this in the first session, but what inspired you to write the book?
What do I?
What inspired you to write the book?
Well, that goes back to my youth in Germany. We saw Gone with the Wind at that time when we were about 15 or 16, but we were all infatuated with Clark Gable. I mean, he was about the hero in German cinema. I mean, it was way. And I went there with all my friends, so eager to see this movie, and I still remember coming out being so frustrated at Scarlett O'Hara for pining after a man who didn't love her. And she missed the present by pining for somebody who was, you know, not I mean, so that idea I carried before I wrote this novella, a long time. And that's why I said when I read the two poems earlier about letting go of the past, it is a book about here and now, celebrating the present. And it does go in the past. I mean, the book delves deeply into the past. Germany and, you know, and Spain tells a lot about Spain. But it also then comes back and the main character nearly, I won't tell you the ending, misses the present because she spends so much time reminiscing or pining about the past. So that's a very, very strong. And Spain is, you know, each of my books plays in a different setting. And the setting is very important to me. One book plays in very cold Montana, actually, and the whole story is very cold. It's a
environment.
The environment again influences the flavor of the story, not the storyline, but the flavor. So I had written about Germany a lot, and there's some of Germany in it, but Spain. You know, I thought it's a different. It's the sun, it's the warmth. It was before we moved to Texas, so we just had a visit time to Spain. And Barcelona. Barcelona is in here, and Barcelona inspired me. There are many sub-characters besides the two main characters. And there's a gay couple, and when we went to Barcelona, that was way before gays were accepted in this country, and we were stunned how the open and free in Barcelona the gay community lived. So that came also.
Your use of color implies.
Yeah, right,
the
exactly.
environment, too.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of body image, yes, there's a lot of nature image. I also think that, you know, not just the climate, but the nature itself, whether from the butterflies or the animals influence the characters.
How long did you spend in Spain?
It was just, how long did we spend in Spain? 4 weeks maybe? Not much. About, you know, maybe a week in Barcelona. And then what you do with any book, that you research the history. You know, I did a lot of, for example, I read everything I could find about the Alhambra in here, because I found that such a mystical place. So I spun that into the story, you know, and so everything as a writer that you can take in can be a starting point. For your story, and it might come back later. You know, it has been years since we went to Spain, to Barcelona, before I wrote the book. So something.
Are you working on another novella, or?
No, I'm actually collecting. I have so many short stories that they're all published, but they're all over the map. They're here, they're in Britain. I have a great success in Great Britain. They've always taken to my writing style. So I have them in a magazine here, a journal here. So what I like to do is just collect them all. Or maybe my next project. And unfortunately, Pam, the publisher, and had to leave. You know, she was here for the first session. She has been just wonderful for just helping me. And you didn't hear the story about how we got the cover story. None of you heard the cover story thing. I always find that a cover of a book is very important, because it tells you about the book. It tells you about love and death. the tree with a heart, and also it tells you about the cemetery, death. And so I had seen a picture of a similar photo, and went to my publisher and thought if we could get the copyrights. It's very difficult. You need to have the copyright before you can use it on a book. And she couldn't locate the copyright owner, so we couldn't use it. We were back to square one. She found a photographer in Montreal where the original photograph was taken. And the woman said, Marie-Claude Goudot said, I'll go back to the cemetery. I might find the tree. She went out there with a camera, searched hours and hours, finally went to the administration building. They said, oh, that tree has been long cut down. So she sent us back. Pam and I decided, okay, another. Just let's, find another image. And a couple of weeks passed, and she said, I hope you haven't found another image yet, because I scouted out the whole cemetery, and a similar picture to this I found, which we then could use for the cover. So I said, thought this was meant to be for the cover, and tells you a lot about the story.
Was that the original tree, or?
Yeah, this is now the original tree that she found, not the original photographs that I had, but that Marie Claude found, took just a lot of pictures, sent them to us, and then we used this for the cover.
No,
And I'm sorry that also our oldest daughter, Caitlin, left. She had wonderful things that she had to say about the cover alone, what she detected in the images.
It's where a limb has been removed.
So you can get your interpretation, and it will just feel back. Wonderful, friends, that you saw us. I'm so sorry you missed Cecile was introduced me.
Well,
we read. And
I'll repeat it. So, have you let people know that you can sign the book again and over here at the table?
yeah, no, yeah, we'll
Can you
finish.
repeat your, Cecile, can you repeat your introduction? Was it more like?
Yeah, it would be wonderful.
Sure, I guess it's a different.
Different group.
Different times. Let me remind myself. So I said a few things. So I'm Cecile Carson, and which is my mom, for those of you who don't know. And she has been a writer from youth. So if you ask her, she'll tell you about how she always knew writing was her calling, even in her school days in post-World War II Germany. And you can tell how she inhabits the word from her versatile publications. So she's got essays, including flash essays. You can ask her what those are. If you don't know, magazine articles, journal articles, wonderful short stories, and many poems to magical effect. And I talked about Save the Last Kiss a little bit. As a reader, it's romantic, sometimes wistful, and has some twists and turns, and also some thoughtful observations about how you reconcile past with present, and also just other seemingly polar human experiences that you have heard now in the reading and her talking about a little bit. So I said it's not only influenced by personal experience in Europe that you all ask about now and around the world, it's also infused by wisdom that is maybe inherent, maybe bloomed with the years, or maybe both. In any case, the book is hard to put down once you start reading. So, yeah, that's a little bit of what I said earlier.
Have you ever thought of writing a play?
Yeah, I have played with that, but there I think the cultural, the language is a little bit different. Poetry comes very easy, but dialogue in another language doesn't come as easy. I have to constantly listen to it, and then it's not mine anymore. So what other people, I can take easily over, the dialogue. When I see a play, I think, oh, that's a great line, but then it's not mine. So I'm more, really what I like is now also the short story. And as Cecile mentioned, flash story, which is, it's a very short form of either fiction or nonfiction. And it usually is, 1,500 words, even sometimes 500, but never more than 3,000 words. And in that short time, you can capture the essence of an experience quite well. So I have done a lot of that. So, and it's collecting them. And the poetry. Poetry has become. I started with poetry actually quite late, and wrote 3 poems and a magazine. Picked all 3, and I thought, okay, let's do more. And the more I have done, the more it's an easy
natural
venue. Yeah. So, and then we have the teacher actually from Cecile from way back, who has wonderful to it. So yeah, and I read before some poems about Here and Now that it is, kind of. Should I read the 2 poems again, or do you want?
Here and Now, baby.
Why don't I use the the message, if I write as a message, is that we have to emphasize the here and now. Don't pine for the past. And when I finished, I wrote very quickly 2 very short poems that summarize the idea. Letting go of the past. She stands in front of the old house of a former lover who died years ago. It has no owners, fresh paint. But the creaky, worn down wooden steps remember jubilant young lovers bounding up to a room where in each other's arms on soft bedding they spun dreams of their future. She brings the memory to mind. Oh, we fine. Holds it there briefly, savors it, and then, smiling, walks on. And it's followed by an even shorter one, Carpe Diem.
What do you want, Daddy?
I have to tell you in a minute. I'm alive, the old woman intones. Her past is like a valued instrument. She learned to play through joy and tribulation. She aims to create new melodies in the future. But for now, she sings, sees the day, not knowing how long the music will last.
Speaking of seize the day.
Distractions you want.
I don't mind. They're all the time.
In the now.
In the now. Children remind you always of the now, which
That's
is
right.
absolutely wonderful. And I have a lot of poems that I haven't read even tonight, which are about women's bodies, what you
Yes.
and you have heard some of them, you know, in praise of my mother's womb, about us, women's bodies. And verse, lots of verse poems, and also poems in praise of children. Especially inspired by these 2 little ones.
Absolutely.
Oh, this is your grandson reading a book.
I want to do that. 6.
Are you serious? You
And
big?
the good is 2.
Very close to their
So if there's anything else, especially for the latecomers, that I can do, please let me know. And I'm just so delighted that so many came out today to join me in that celebration. It was wonderful.
Congratulations.
Goodbye.